and welcome back to our next session in our Expert Talk series. Rödl and Partner presents the Lighthouse-Talks with our India experts. In this session, we aim to provide insight on fraud prevention and detection in organization. And we have with us Gaurav Jain. Gaurav is a qualified chartered accountant and certified fraud examiner who leads the forensic and fraud investigation practice for Rödl and Partner for West and South India. He has more than 12 years of experience. Gaurav has been handling fraud and forensic services for more than 8 years now. Welcome, Gaurav.
Thank you, Anushrii.
So today's topic, fraud prevention and detection, a very intriguing one. Can you please explain it to our audience?
Definitely. Fraud is a very interesting topic. Most of the organization think fraud as a taboo topic where colleagues do not speak about the fraud topic between each others, which leads to grow it more and more, and at the end it leads to a misappropriation of company's resources and losses to the company, which needs to tackle at the right time. Fraud is not a new thing. It has existed over 20 centuries. In today's digital age, financial fraud has become increasingly sophisticated due to technological advancement, cyber crimes, and complex financial scheme. To effectively combat the fraud, organization needs a comprehensive approach that includes prevention strategies, detection mechanisms, and a robust investigation processes.
So Gaurav, what is the role of fraud prevention and detection measures in any organization?
So fraud detections and prevention has a very crucial role in any organization, whether medium, small or large. It safeguards any organization's assets and resources from misappropriation. It also protects the company's goodwill and stakeholders' trust. Also, it avoids any kind of operational irregularities or mishaps, as well as financial losses. And lastly, I would like to add that if you have a very robust anti-fraud mechanisms, it will create a good ethical workplace environment.
Absolutely. So how can an organization protect itself from any fraud, or what could be the effective measures?
An effective fraud prevention and detection mechanism can be established through several means in an organization. An organization can start with fraud risk assessment, where a company can regularly identify and evaluate potential risk in a company. Then secondly, company can do a strong internal controls, where they can implement controls and robust internal control systems across the organization. The company should look into creating an awareness via employee education. They should provide a regular training to all the staffs. Then company should also look into establishing a whistleblower programs, where they can establish a confidential reporting channels for all the employees to report any suspected frauds or any suspected actions. Then company should, in today's world, they should also use the data analytics, where they can use the data analytics for the unusual patterns and transactions. Then company should look into a very important area, which is background check. Company should look into all the background checks for the new hires and vendors in an organization at the beginning itself. Lastly, I would like to add, company should also have a clear policies. Policies are very important. Company should look into establishing the clear policies of anti-corruptions, anti-fraud mechanisms at the right time in the company to have an ethical environment to work.
Very well explained, Gaurav. Let's move to our next question. Who all are involved to make fraud prevention and detection an effective mechanism?
Anushrii, if you see to make any mechanism effective, everyone is collectively responsible. Similarly, for the fraud detection and prevention also, everyone in an organization is collectively responsible. Starting from the top management like CEO, shared board of directors and CFOs, they are responsible to set the tone of the management regarding these policies, anti-fraud policies, anti-corruption or anti-bribery policies. And coming to now the employees of finance department, HR department or legal department, each and every department is playing their own role. Finance department is helping company to develop internal control, monitor transactions. HR is helping organization to detect fraud via doing background verifications for all the new employees coming in. Legal department heads to comply with the regulations and also in the investigation. So at the end, everyone is collectively making the effort, has to make the collective effort to have an effective preventive and fraud mechanism.
Right, right. And as you mentioned earlier about data analytics, so can you tell us in detail the importance of technology in fraud prevention and detection?
Absolutely. Technology is not just fighting fraud, it's revolutionizing the battlefield of the whole fraud prevention and detection. Let me highlight you a specific use case where the technology is helping fraud preventions and detection. As I explained earlier, analytics, data analytics can be a very important part where we can use the technology to see unusual transactions or red flag transactions. Then comes you see the artificial intelligence nowadays, which can help us to do a future analysis, what kind of fraud could come, and accordingly takes the actions on those kind of frauds. Then we also can take the real-time monitoring of all these tools, internet tools which are available, which will help us to have a red flags immediately or at the right time, which can again help company to protect from the frauds. And at the last, once a fraud happens, we also use several digital forensic tools which help us to gather evidence when a fraud is suspected or a fraud has already been found.
Okay, thank you so much for explaining it so nicely. Gaurav, what do you suggest? That developing fraud prevention and detection in-house, or we need specialists for the same?
Yeah, it is subjective. Organization can develop basic fraud prevention measures in-house, especially if they have a staff with a relevant expertise. However, engaging a fraud specialist often provides several benefits. Specialists bring in-depth knowledge of the latest frauds, schemes, prevention techniques. External specialists can provide an unbiased assessment of the organization's fraud risks, and also they can introduce industry best practices and innovative approaches from their experiences on several cases. Specialists can often implement programs more effectively than in-house team, learning on the job, and they can provide specialist training to staff on fraud awareness and detection. In case of the suspected fraud, specialists have the necessary skills to conduct through investigation, so a common approach is to develop a framework with the help of a specialist and then manage it internally with the periodic expert reviews. And engaging specialist is very important to gather an evidence, and so that evidence is not being tampered by anyone.
Yes, Gaurav, specialist support is absolutely required in such matters. Well, with this, we conclude our today's session. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you, Anushrii. It was my pleasure to share information on this topic. I would be glad to answer any questions or queries on this topic.
Gaurav's contact details are given in the bio of this video. Dear viewers, we would be delighted to remain connected with you via our series Rödl and Partner presents The Lighthouse, talks with our India experts, with many more such informative and interesting videos. Until then, please be safe, grow your business, and stay vigilant against fraud. Awareness is your shield against deception.